People often say that when a person becomes more aware, they start to love less. But this idea is not as simple as it sounds. Awareness means you start seeing things more clearly. You begin to notice patterns, behaviors, and truths that you did not see before. When someone is less aware, they often see the world in a soft and simple way. They feel emotions deeply and quickly. Love feels easy and natural to them because they are not analyzing it too much. But as awareness grows, the mind starts to question everything, even love. A more aware person begins to see both good and bad sides of people. They notice flaws, hidden intentions, contradictions, and emotional games that others play without even realizing it. This does not mean that love disappears, but it changes its shape. Instead of blind feelings, it becomes more careful and thoughtful. In the beginning of life, many people love with innocence. They trust easily and give their heart without thinking too much. This kind of love is pure but also fragile. When awareness increases, a person learns from experiences, mistakes, and disappointments. They may have been hurt before, lied to, or misunderstood. So the mind starts to protect itself. It does not allow emotions to flow freely like before. This protection can look like loving less, but in reality it is the mind being more cautious. Aware people see that not everything is what it looks like. A smile may hide pain. A kind word may hide a selfish reason. A close relationship may still have distance inside it. When you begin to notice all these layers, it becomes harder to fall into simple emotional attachment. Love requires some level of trust and imagination, but awareness replaces imagination with observation. You stop imagining perfection in others. You see them as they are, not as you wish them to be. This can reduce the feeling of romantic love or blind admiration. Another reason why awareness can feel like reduced love is because expectations change. When someone is less aware, they expect less and accept more. They are easily satisfied with small gestures. But a more aware person understands human behavior deeply. They see patterns like manipulation, ego, insecurity, and fear in relationships. Because of this, they start expecting honesty, depth, and emotional maturity. When these expectations are not met, they feel disconnected more easily. It is not that they want less love, but they want real love, not shallow connections. Awareness also brings emotional independence. A less aware person may depend heavily on others for emotional happiness. They feel love strongly because it fills their inner emptiness. But a more aware person starts to understand themselves better. They learn how their emotions work. They begin to sit with their loneliness instead of escaping it through relationships. This reduces emotional dependence. So love becomes less of a need and more of a choice. And when love is a choice, it feels different. It is calmer, quieter, and sometimes less intense. People also confuse emotional intensity with love. In early stages of life, strong emotions like jealousy, excitement, obsession, and longing are often mistaken for love. But awareness shows that these emotions are not always love. They can be attachment, insecurity, or desire for control. When a person becomes aware of this, they no longer chase emotional highs. They avoid toxic cycles that once felt like passion. So it may seem like they love less, but actually they are removing confusion from love. They are separating love from pain and chaos. Another important factor is that awareness reveals human imperfection in a deeper way. Every person has ego, fears, and weaknesses. When you truly see this in others and also in yourself, it becomes harder to idealize anyone. Idealization is a big part of early love. You believe someone is special, almost perfect. But awareness breaks that illusion. You realize that everyone is human, including yourself. This can make love feel less magical, but more real. It becomes grounded instead of dreamy. Aware people also tend to observe rather than react. In relationships, instead of reacting emotionally, they pause and analyze situations. This creates emotional distance in some moments. The other person may feel less affection because there is less emotional reaction. But inside, the aware person is just trying to understand things better before responding. This controlled behavior can be misunderstood as lack of love. There is also a deeper psychological reason. As awareness increases, the mind becomes less driven by fantasy and more driven by truth. Fantasy is what makes love feel intense and colorful. Truth is often more neutral and simple. When fantasy reduces, emotions also feel less dramatic. This does not mean love is gone. It means love is no longer mixed with illusion. It becomes clearer, quieter, and more stable, but less explosive. Many people also go through disappointment on the path of awareness. They may realize that not all relationships are equal, not all people value love the same way, and not all efforts are returned. These realizations can make a person more careful. They start choosing where to invest their emotions. This selective love can look like loving less, but it is actually loving more wisely. Another point is that awareness increases self-reflection. A person begins to understand their own flaws deeply. They may realize they are not always easy to love either. This understanding can make them more reserved in expressing love. They may hesitate more before entering emotional bonds because they know relationships require responsibility, patience, and emotional work. Over time, aware individuals often shift from emotional love to compassionate love. Emotional love is based on feelings, attraction, and attachment. Compassionate love is based on understanding, acceptance, and care. It is less dramatic but more stable. It does not depend on moods or fantasies. It is grounded in reality. So from the outside, it may look like less love, but from the inside, it is a more mature form of love. However, there is also a misunderstanding in the idea itself. Awareness does not truly reduce love. It reduces confusion, illusion, and emotional chaos. What disappears is not love, but unhealthy attachment and unrealistic expectations. Real love does not need blindness. It can exist with awareness. In fact, the most stable and lasting love often comes from people who are fully aware of themselves and others. They accept imperfections and still choose connection. They do not love because they are carried away by emotion, but because they understand and choose it again and again. In simple terms, when a person is less aware, love feels like a strong wave that takes over everything. When a person becomes more aware, love feels like a deep river that flows calmly. The wave is louder and more exciting, but it does not last long. The river is quiet, steady, and long-lasting. So it may seem like awareness reduces love, but it actually changes a form of love from emotional intensity to conscious understanding. The heart does not become empty. It becomes clearer. The feelings do not disappear. They become more thoughtful. And in that space of awareness, love may feel smaller, but it often becomes more real and more meaningful than before.